Disgaea has always been the undisputed king of grid-based, turn-based mathematical insanity. For decades, fans knew exactly what they were getting into. Hours of moving cursors, calculated positioning, and waiting patiently for the enemy AI to take its turn. But Disgaea Mayhem completely tears up the rulebook. Nippon Ichi Software took a massive gamble here, throwing out the tactical grids entirely and replacing them with chaotic, real-time crowd-clearing action. It is easily the most shocking evolution the franchise has ever seen, turning a slow-burn strategy series into pure adrenaline. Before you drop your hard-earned cash on this brand new direction, there are a few massive changes, mechanical shifts, and performance details you absolutely need to understand. Let us break down exactly what you're getting into with this wild Netherworld spin-off. Let's kick things off with number 1, which is the shocking genre shift. The traditional tactical movement is gone. Instead, the developers have crafted a fast-paced action RPG engine that feels heavily inspired by the Musou genre. You're actively running around massive battlefields, slashing through hundreds of enemies, dashing out of harm's way, and executing flashy special moves in real time. It completely changes the pacing of the game. Instead of spending 10 minutes planning a single turn, you're clearing out waves of demons in seconds. It breathes an entirely new energy into the franchise, making combat feel instantly gratifying, though it might catch longtime strategy purists off guard. Handling that chaotic real-time combat requires serious power, bringing us to number 2, the Switch 2 performance advantage. With so many enemies on screen and hundreds of damage numbers popping up simultaneously, a rock-solid frame rate is absolutely critical. The upgraded hardware handles the sheer visual noise beautifully, keeping the performance locked down even during the most extravagant screen-clearing special attacks. Handheld mode is another massive highlight, delivering a sharp, crisp resolution that prevents the hectic battlefields from devolving into a blurry, pixelated mess. It ensures that the fast-paced action remains readable and highly responsive, whether you're playing docked on a big screen or taking the Netherworld on the go. While the hardware keeps things running smoothly, the context for all this fighting is pure chaos, which leads into number 3, the quest for the stolen flan. Narrative consistency is one area where the game stays proudly and hilariously on brand. The story embraces the absolute peak absurdity the series is famous for. You step into the shoes of a hardened, cynical demon mercenary named N.A., who finds themselves reluctantly hired by the newly appointed and incredibly demanding overlord, Tichelle. The entire driving conflict of this epic adventure is not about saving the universe or conquering the Netherworld. It centers entirely on tracking down and reclaiming a legendary, stolen royal dessert known as the Pristine Gleam Flan. The writing is packed with the classic, witty, fourth-wall-breaking humor you expect, ensuring that even though the gameplay has shifted dramatically, the soul of the universe remains intact. Following NA's specific journey brings us directly to number 4, the solo protagonist setup. Choosing this game means accepting a massive point of divergence regarding how you build your team. Mainline entries usually give you a massive roster of unique story characters to recruit and command directly on the battlefield. Disgaea Mayhem narrows its focus, locking you into playing exclusively as the main mercenary NA. You will not be managing a massive army of unique heroes mid-combat or swapping between different story icons on the fly. The entire experience shifts toward deeply optimizing a single devastating engine of destruction. It creates a much more intimate character-focused progression where your entire mechanical understanding is dedicated to mastering one specific combatant's toolkit. Controlling just one character could easily get stale, but the developers solved this with number 5, the 7 completely distinct weapon types. Mechanical variety is delivered straight through an expansive and highly flexible weapon system. To keep the solo combat from feeling repetitive, you have immediate access to 7 distinct weapon classes. You can equip swords, spears, fists, axes, magical staves, bows, or guns. Crucially, swapping your weapon does not just change a static stat number, it rewrites your basic attack strings, changing your movement speed, maximum range, and tactical positioning on the fly. You can seamlessly shift from a long-range firearm build that keeps enemies at bay to a heavy-hitting axe setup that shatters enemy defenses up close. It provides a massive amount of experimental freedom, allowing you to tailor the real-time action to your exact personal playstyle. Balancing those 7 weapon types makes NA an absolute powerhouse, but diving headfirst into a massive horde of demons entirely alone can still get incredibly overwhelming. Which brings us to number 6, the Battle Buddy base. You're not totally isolated despite the single character gameplay limitation. The main hub world features a dedicated buddy base where you can actively build bonds and recruit classic Disgaea monsters like Prinnies to accompany you directly into the fray. These AI-controlled allies act as excellent distractions on the battlefield, pulling aggro away from you and providing crucial passive support systems when the screen gets dangerously crowded. It strikes a great balance, keeping the mechanical focus entirely on your personal combat skills while still letting you feel like you have a loyal, explosive Netherworld squad backing you up. Having a squad of Prinnies around to take hits for you is great for survival, but surviving the absolute toughest challenges requires upgrading your gear, leading directly into number 7, a real-time item world. Diving into your weapons and armor to level them up makes a triumphant return here, though it has been completely adapted for a fast-paced action game. Instead of tactical grid maps, these dungeons are broken down into short, frantic survival floors based entirely on the rarity of the item you enter. Clearing a floor immediately presents you with a choice of 3 randomized buff cards, allowing you to stack power, modify specific stats, or open up wacky mystery rooms on the fly. It turns the classic methodical grind into a highly addictive roguelite style sprint that keeps the pacing exceptionally fast. Stacking up all those buff cards and rare items will quickly make you a force to be reckoned with, but eventually you will need to change the laws of the Netherworld itself to unlock your true potential. Bringing us to number 8, rigging the Dark Assembly. Politics in this universe remain delightfully corrupt, meaning that unlocking new hub facilities, upgrading shop inventories, and initiating character reincarnation requires passing bills through a demonic senate. You will spend plenty of time either bribing monster judges with rare items to win their votes, or simply resorting to the classic Disgaea method of flat-out beating down the opposition in real-time combat to force a bill through. It adds a fantastic layer of classic Netherworld flavor to the progression, ensuring that progression is always earned through a mix of clever bribery and raw brute force. Forcing bills through the Dark Assembly gives you immense power over the hub, but gaining absolute control over the rules of engagement requires using another beloved franchise feature, which brings us to number 9, custom tailoring the cheat shop. Fine-tuning the underlying game mechanics remains a core pillar of the overall experience here. The cheat shop allows you to freely manipulate sliders to shift your experience, gain money generation, and overall enemy power levels whenever you want. You can instantly crank up the difficulty to test your skills, or dial it back to quickly farm resources. It provides an immediate, incredibly flexible tool to customize the exact pace of your personal progression without forcing you to slog through artificial roadblocks. Utilizing the cheat shop to maximize your experience gains will quickly push your character to the level cap, but hitting that ceiling is exactly when the real game begins, leading straight into number 10, breaking limits via reincarnation. Maxing out your level is merely the introductory step of the end game. Reincarnation resets NA all the way back to level 1 while permanently converting your accumulated progress into massive baseline stat point bonuses. Repeating this cycle multiple times is absolutely mandatory for anyone looking to forge a god-tier character build capable of surviving the harshest post-game content. It ensures that every single level you gain contributes to a permanent, unshakable foundation of raw power. Stacking enough of those permanent reincarnation bonuses will quickly turn your standard attacks into an absolute visual spectacle, which brings us to number 11, millions of points of damage. Pumping your combat numbers into the stratosphere remains one of the most satisfying hooks in the entire franchise, and it translates beautifully to real-time action. The level cap proudly sits at the series traditional 9,999 limit. End-stage character builds will easily dish out hundreds of millions of damage points with basic button presses, filling the screen with an absolute explosion of spectacular combat text. Watching health bars evaporate in real time while the display is flooded with massive digits provides an incredible rush of validation for all the time you spend grinding. Seeing those massive millions of damage numbers pop up might make you think this is another multi-hundred-hour black hole of time, but the actual scope of this spin-off is much more restrained. leading us to number 12, a surprisingly short adventure. Longtime fans expecting a massive tactical epic will need to adjust their expectations heavily. The entire main campaign, along with a significant portion of the endgame content, can be wrapped up in under 20 hours. It stands out as a much tighter, bite-sized experience compared to the notoriously intimidating mainline entries. The streamlined nature makes it perfect for a quick, high-energy action fix, though it might leave completionists wanting a bit more meat on the bones. The shorter runtime becomes even more noticeable when you realize how easily you can break the game's systems. Bringing us to number 13, the fragile difficulty curve. Min-maxing your statistics early on will completely trivialize the game's challenge. Spending a mere 2 hours optimizing gear in the item world grants enough raw power to annihilate major campaign bosses in seconds. The delicate balance between real-time action combat and deep stat-boosting systems breaks incredibly easily, turning what should be intense boss encounters into absolute casual walkovers. Anyone looking for a sustained, grueling skill challenge throughout the story will need to intentionally restrain themselves from diving too deep into the upgrade mechanics. Melting bosses in seconds due to a broken difficulty curve highlights that this game plays by its own rules, which extends directly to the actual scale of the battles, leading into number 14, the modest enemy density. Gamers coming in expecting thousands of active combatants swarming the screen simultaneously like a traditional Musou title might feel a bit underwhelmed. The developers focused on smaller, tighter skirmishes rather than massive fields of endless foes, rarely filling the screen with more than a couple dozen active targets at a time. It keeps the real-time action highly readable and focused, but anyone looking for absolute battlefield scale might find the encounter sizes a bit too restrained. Although smaller crowd skirmishes keep regular moment-to-moment encounters manageable, the developers saved the true mechanical test for number 15, the legendary post-game super bosses going toe-to-toe with series staples like the terrifying Overlord Bale inside a real-time action engine is a completely different monster compared to taking them on a traditional turn-based grid. You're no longer just calculating stat outputs from a safe distance, you're actively dodging screen-filling bullet hell patterns, memorizing rapid attack telegraphs, and finding precise windows to unload your combo strings. Fights against these endgame titans are broken down into multiple grueling phases, each introducing brutal new mechanics that can erase your entire health bar in a fraction of a second. Passing these extreme damage and survival checks demands that you fully maximize every single system in the game, from fine-tuning your cheat shot multipliers to stacking permanent reincarnation bonuses onto your best weapons. It delivers the absolute ultimate payoff for all the hours you spent optimizing your character, giving hardcore players a punishing, insanely satisfying final hurdle long after the credits roll on the main story. So what's the final verdict? Disgaea Mayhem is a bold, chaotic experiment that successfully breathes new life into a legendary franchise. Hardcore strategy purists who live and die by the grid might find the shorter runtime, lack of a massive character roster, and easily broken difficulty curve a bit tough to swallow. However, anyone willing to embrace the madness will discover an incredibly fun, fast-paced action RPG that honors its roots while blazing a completely new trail. The brilliant roguelite translation of the item world combined with rock-solid Switch 2 performance makes this a highly recommended breezy ride that is absolutely worth your time. That wraps up our complete breakdown of everything you need to know before jumping into this wild new vision of the Netherworld. Now I want to hear from all of you down in the comments below. Are you excited to see the series take on this high-octane real-time action? Or do you prefer the classic turn-based grid strategy of the mainline entries? I'm Cyril, and you have been watching SwitchPlanet. Thank you all so much for watching. Keep gaming, and I will catch you in the next video.